All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Um, if you're wondering who all these people are in the little squares, you have entered into the LD11 August meeting. Uh, Good to see everybody's virtual faces and or avatars. If you don't know me, I'm Patrick Brown. I'm the chair of LD11 Democrats, and I want to welcome you to our meeting. Before we get into the business, I do want to just say a few words about a couple of things, and we'll kind of, if you guys will indulge me, and then we'll kind of get into our meeting. So anyway, as you guys are all aware, we just had a primary election, and we had, the results, of course, are pretty well known across the board. And what I want to kind of just take a moment to talk about real quick is just kind of the nature of, how politics works and our system of government and how this whole thing really kind of, shakes out. The thing is that, we have this thing called a democracy, and it's a very fragile thing. Why it's fragile is because really how this system works, outside of all the science and all the the study that goes into like the intricacies of this system, is that it requires the people to really drive it. Folks like you and me, being engaged in the process. In most cases, and I would say in the average case, it's when an individual, casts their vote, when they go and vote, and either that they do that either, by mail, or they go straight to the ballot box and they cast their vote. Going a little bit more into how our system works is that we have people who, see a space, a role, they see something where they go, you know what? I feel that I'm an individual who can go and I can make a difference in, in government, or in a school board, or on a water board, or any, different levels of our government. And so those folks are really, putting themselves out there. They're going to take time away from, their family. They're going to take time away from their work. They're going to take time away from, many things. And they're going to have to, go out, and they're going to meet all sorts of people. They're going to, be subjected to lots of questions, and maybe just the average person is just not quite ready for. And the thing is that, all that work and all that goes into it is important because it's to drive our democracy forward. And with all that work, it'll all come down to an election. And with that election, all those people they met and all those folks that they talked to, and even the people who didn't talk to them or they did meet, will have a decision to make. And they'll decide, who amongst these folks are, they feel should, in this case, a primary election, move on to the general. And then ultimately be elected to that office in order to serve, their community. And unfortunately, with this type of stuff, it's, we kind of what's called, we have a zero-sum system. Someone will win and someone will lose. But the thing is that they don't really lose. They may not be moving either on to the general election, or they may not be moving into that office. But what they're doing is that they've contributed to our democracy. They've contributed to, our collective discussion on how things should be. And because of that, we should thank each and every one of those folks who took time out of their lives, who took time away from their families, and who, took just, they went out and said, hey, I want to do this. I feel that I can give a lot to the community. And we all have, our, people that we feel are, good for a position, and we have folks who, we feel otherwise. But the bigger picture, looking at, the fact that we're Democrats, the fact that, we, now have to look forward into a general election, which is an extremely important general election. There are a lot of things on the ballot, and I know I'm kind of, preaching to the choir here, but there's things like, just our vote, women's rights to an abortion, our education, and so many other things. So what we now have to do is we have to look and say, all right, we move forward to the general election. and we work to elect Democrats from the bottom to the top of the ballot. But guess what? We won't be done after that, because then once those individuals and once those Democrats are elected to office, all up and down the ballot, remember I said earlier that our democracy is not something we just kind of just take for granted. We have to hold them accountable. We have to talk with those folks. We have to make sure that they're continuing to represent us in the way that we, the community, feels. So with that being said, again, I thank you guys for indulging me for a moment. But again, I know some of you guys are on the call who ran for office, and you ran with honor, you ran with respect. And I want to thank you for choosing to serve in this way. And I look forward to, your energy and your time and the things that you even learned doing this process to help, make our community stronger and help us to, reach out to, voters and get us the rest of the way so that we have, great leadership and Democrats representing us in government. So that being said, let's get into the meeting. All right, let's go through just a couple of meeting norms here. If this is your first time joining us for a meeting, just to go quickly through how we tend to operate. Cameras, if you want them on, great. If you want them off, that's fine. The only thing we do ask, if you're able, is to turn on your camera if you're recognized to speak, just so we can see who's saying what. But so that's just an ask that we have. We also ask that you stay muted unless you are on the agenda or you're recognized to speak by myself, the chair. So just make sure you have that mute button. If you have any questions or any comments or anything like that, please put them in the chat. Members of our board are monitoring the chat. Either they'll answer it directly or they'll let me know, and I'll recognize you to either ask a question or make the comment or so on and so forth. If you'd like to follow at home, our agenda is virtual. One of our board members will go ahead and drop that link in the chat. That'll allow you to view the agenda so you can kind of see what we're going to be talking about and who's going to be joining us this evening for our meeting. And with that said, let's get into the officer reports. Like I said, I'll be brief because I use a lot of my time earlier. So I'll just kind of go through my stuff and then kind of keep everything else going here. So a couple of big things going on. I'm going to kind of sum up my report is basically we got to protect public education. Save Our Schools Arizona is having one big event this weekend, which is their signature slam. They have to collect something north of about 200,000 signatures statewide in order to stop the voucher expansion that was passed by I'm just going to call it who it is, the Republicans in the state legislature, who have not realized that nobody wants this. People have shot it down 2-1 and nobody wants this, but they're still trying to force it through. So we're going to do what we do best. We're going to stop them and we're going to send this to the ballot. So for third time's a charm, the people of Arizona can say, no, we don't want vouchers. Along those lines, they are also looking for individuals who are willing to be what's called a petition depot. What that means is that let's say if any of you guys say own a business or have like an office or, are just are cool with people coming by the house or something like that. We're looking for folks who'd be willing to be a depot. This would be a place where people can drop off petitions. There are a lot of, Save Our Schools is out there, they're collecting petitions, but there are also lots and lots of volunteers who have said, hey, I'll take a stack of petitions. They're getting those things signed, but they need a place to drop them off. And SOS, their deadline to get their signatures turned in is September 24th, which is really right around the corner. So they need, of course, time to process those petitions, make sure they got good signatures on there so that they can make that number. Because if they make that number, that's say 200 and some odd thousand number, that freezes the law from going into effect. And then it sends it to the voters where we get to shut it down permanently. Last bit of information, the Secretary of State's office runs a really awesome program. It's the John Lewis Youth Leadership Award. And so if you know a young person who is living the ideals of John Lewis, the application deadline for this award is September 9th. The links here for someone to fill it out, we'll drop that in the chat so that, if you know somebody, a young person who would be great for this, to get them to apply. And one other thing, again, we're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for people who want to step up. We're going to be talking about a lot about volunteerism, but remember, we're still looking for a communications chair and a voter reg committee liaison. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get deeper in the meeting, but that's everything from me. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Dave Braun, our first vice chair. And I know, is Dave on the meeting? Okay, we'll circle back around here. So we'll go to our second. Actually, I'm sorry. We're gonna do one quick little detour. Apologies, Jennifer. We have Ben Graff on. He's running for the water board, and I know he's kind of triple booked tonight. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of depart a little bit from the agenda. I'm gonna go ahead and recognize Ben. You have the floor to tell us what you're running for and a little stuff about you.
Patrick, good to see you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. Very kind of you to depart from your agenda. Sorry to cause a snafu in your timeline. Really appreciate it. Ben Graff, for those of you I haven't met, running for the Central Arizona Water Conservation District. There are 5 seats that you can elect this year to the Central Arizona Water Conservation District. I'm going to now refer just as to the water board. It is the only elected position with the word water on it in your ballot come November. It's nonpartisan, so we don't have a D or an R, obviously not an R, next to our names. So we're working very hard to make sure that you understand that there are 4 Democrats running for this seat, and we want you to do what we're calling the quad shot. Please vote for 4. So there's Elena Aguilar, Alexandra Arboleda, Jim Peterson, and myself, Ben Graff, running for this position. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that some of the very first signatures that I received to qualify from the ballot were from LD11. Patrick himself handed me a nice stack of petitions early on. So I want to thank you all for getting myself qualified for the ballot and off to re-election. I'm one of the 2 candidates that was elected in 2016, and I'm one of the current Democrats that serves on the board. So Alex and myself are the candidates that are the incumbents that we're hoping to get re-elected, in addition to our 2 new candidates. And this is the board that oversees all of Arizona's Colorado River water allocation. So when you're reading in the news about Lake Powell, about Lake Mead, being below 25% capacity, this is the water source that our board oversees and deals with on a daily basis, especially in regard to conservation. We are in a very dire situation. It's relatively serious in that what is now clearly a result of climate change, and not a temporary situation, but instead what we believe is going to be a long-term, if not permanent, condition that we're going to need to adapt to. The Colorado River water system is producing roughly 3 million acre feet less than it did 10 years ago. And so we are now under, our current board has been meeting quite frequently to determine how to make a cut from the overall river system, including the allocation to Arizona. But the good news is that we have received feedback at this point from the federal government that the states are going to maintain their control over this allocation as long as we can come up with a conservation and reduction plan. So our board and similar boards in Nevada and California have been meeting to negotiate and come up with a plan for a conservation effort. Meanwhile, we are considered the wholesaler of water to many of our cities, Indian tribes, as well as municipal and industrial uses, and of course, agriculture. And so we're working on conservation plans as well. It's going to be absolutely essential to get the 4 Democrats, 2 of us reelected, 2 new members onto the board, because we do have individuals running. We have 14 candidates running for the 5 seats, 10 of which are Republicans. We have candidates running that are saying this is a temporary condition. It's not climate change. We just need to wait for the next snowpack in the Colorado Rockies and we'll be good to go. We need candidates that are facing the reality behind this. So I'll stop there. I do appreciate obviously the accommodation of letting me speak early. I really appreciate the invitation to speak to all of you. I will put my website in the chat. We are desperately trying to raise funds. Everything can help because we have to run Maricopa County wide on a very small budget. So getting up signs, getting out social media buys, all of these things really help spread the word. So thank you so much. If you want to have questions, if you have time for that, I'd be happy to answer. If you don't have time for that tonight, that is perfectly fine. Just let me know.
Yeah, Ben, we could do a few questions. So do we have any questions? Just go ahead and, unmute and ask away.
I have a quick question. Hi, Ben. My name is Nikita Ross. Quick question for you. Hi. When you were saying you're looking into cutting back, I learned a tiny bit. So meet me where my gap is, my knowledge gap is. But there are some states who get more, like the allocation isn't even. So when we're cutting back, how are we cutting back? Are we cutting back within proportions to how it's going, or is it saying, is it the even, or is it based off of the amount that each state takes? Is that question clear?
That question is not only clear, but it's brilliant, and it's exactly what's being debated right now. So California and Nevada and some of our upper basin states in some of these meetings have flat out said, Arizona, you are the lowest priority on the river. Therefore, you should take the largest cut. That's been thrown out there multiple times. You'll be encouraged to know that Alex and I and Terry Goddard and Heather Macri and others on our board have been pushing back very, very hard on this. And we do not believe that the federal government will support having Arizona take the biggest hit. In our lower basin states, California has the highest priority, Nevada has the second, and Arizona has the third. But this priority system never anticipated these overwhelming significant changes. And California saying, we want to hold on to our 4.4 million acre foot allocation. Arizona, you take the cut. That's not flying with the federal government. And why that matters is the Secretary of the Interior actually has the authority to step in and reallocate as needed if they feel that the Colorado River, the health of the Colorado River is in danger. So the shorter answer to your question is that's been threatened. It's been thrown out there that Arizona would take the largest cut. We believe we have a strong seat at the table in negotiating tactics to make these cuts more equal across the states.
Thank you for answering and thank you for advocating for us.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time for like one more question. So if anyone has a burning question, this is your opportunity. Okay, well, Ben, I got to tell you, I think Alex, she gave us a real, very in-depth explanation about water in Arizona. So I think we all feel better educated on this topic, and you've given us even more to think about and understand. Again, this is a very, very important race because we live in a desert and we need water and we need to be smart with our water. So let's make sure that we do the quad shot and we get Ben as well as the others elected to our water board so we can do what's best for our state and for our water supply. And because I like water. I think most people do. So again, Ben, thank you for getting us into the schedule, and just you're always welcome back, and let us know if there's any way we can support you and the rest of your team to get elected.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me tonight. I will definitely come back and speak to you again before the general elections.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So let's hop back to the agenda. So Jennifer, you are up.
Okay. Let's see, I have something to read here as well. Just really quick, something that I noticed today, actually because I found out my daughter has been exposed to COVID. Our kids out in Laveen, at least the high schoolers and the grade schoolers, have gone back to school this week. Phoenix Union has, you can actually see how many reported cases they have. It's pretty minimal. I believe it's optional to wear a mask. I've seen some students wearing some masks. It's made me a little bit more confident that my daughter, at least if she was to cough or sneeze, she wasn't spreading anything, but we have tested her. As a parent, I do need to say I have seen parents just blaze through these school zones. I know Roosevelt went back to school last week. I don't know if their school zones have calmed down, but in the Levine school districts, I saw the same car go through 2 different school zones far beyond the 15-mile-an-hour speed zone. So please think of the children. Some of these kindergartners are walking to school on their own, and especially if you're in a lifted truck, you won't see them. Just as the bus drivers wouldn't see them, and they drive hopefully very cautiously through our neighborhoods. Please keep that in mind. The other thing is the city of Phoenix is going out for, well, they'll be hopefully putting the bond on a ballot next year. If you go to, and it had Be Healthy for Phoenix Union link, but general obligation bond kicked off this past Monday. Let's see if I can get this correct here. There are numerous categories that will be discussed. These will be in open meetings. They will be available, I believe, on YouTube, but I know that they're supposed to be on channel 11 if you've got Cox Cable. And you should be able to view these live on their website. There is going to be Parks and Rec and the City and Neighborhood Services committees, subcommittees will be meeting on Friday. So if you have a chance, and please make the time to do so, see what the city has suggested. They do need feedback. It does sound like there's going to be a big push. I forget the website, but I'm sure you can Google it. But for the fire department, they were advocating already for more firehouses. Learn about what they're talking about, because some of these committees, I believe we only have 4 meetings in subcommittee before executive takes all that data and makes some final recommendations. This is, to me, this is very similar to the budget hearings. I don't see a lot of people engaging in. I know in Levine, we've been pretty outspoken. We can usually be very good about filling up the Cesar Chavez cafeteria to speak out regarding what we need out here in Levine, but we don't always see that type of engagement throughout the rest of the city. If there's something pressing that you see that you might have some opinion to give, there is a call to the public at the end of each of the subcommittee meetings. They give about, I think, half an hour for public comment. So utilize that or write in. I believe every subcommittee has an admin that can be reached as well, so you can submit comment that way too. So I see on the slide, we have the Congressional App Challenge that allows students across the country to develop their computer science and coding skills by creating a software application or an app for mobile, tablet, or computer devices. The winning app for Congressional District 3 will be included in the display at the U.S. Capitol and on the House of Representatives official website. The deadline is November 1st, 2022. And then the link, thank you. Shams is on top of it. So if you want to copy that link or click it now and see the website or get registered, or get your student registered, please do so right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. We're gonna circle back around. I saw Dave log in, so we go ahead and hop back to first vice chair. Oops. All right, Dave, can you hear us? All right, what we're gonna do, like I said, we're gonna circle back around to Dave one more time, but we'll just kind of jump to treasurer. So Shams, why don't you go ahead and take over?
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. For month of July, actually, it was very interesting because we had to, a lot of things was taking place in July. So our total income was $216, and I wanted to give a shout out to Keisha Washington, Kathleen Pettigrew, Isabel Chavez, Mr. Ron Williams, Mr. Jerry Humphreys, Nikita Ross, Miss Rosie Lopez, Mr. Buddy Duran, and Ms. Joyce Baird. So thank you all. And for this particular month, although it's going to be for the next month's report, Ms. Julie Golding is our newest recurring member for on ActBlue account. So I want to congratulate her. So thank you everyone for that contributions. For the total income, $216, and our expenses were $110.94. And as usual, we had our monthly meeting fee for Zoom, our ActBlue fees, and for email distributions that Patrick, our chair, sends out, which is very nice. So we have the subscriptions for 24/27 for that. And then our new website is, I believe it's up. It's up and running. So please go check it out. And for that, we have the monthly Google domain fee for that, $52.13. And we also need a web host, and we are using Bluehost at the time. So that's it for the expenditures. I also want to say there are 2 reports that was due actually in month of July. The first report was the Q2 report, and it covered from April 1st to June 30th. For this year, that was due on July 15th. So that was submitted on time, as well as our second report, campaign finance report, that was due, and it's called 2022 pre-primary report. That was from July 1st to July 16th. That was due on July 23rd. So both of those reports were submitted online on time. And you can view those reports at the Secretary of State website. And finally, how I like it, Patrick made this slide, donate. Do you see the yellow button is flashing? It's waiting for you guys. So whenever you get the opportunity, please donate to our account. And with your money, we bring all these amazing things that you get to enjoy for this LD. So that's it from me. Back to you, Patrick. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shams, and just you can tell that she's like really just got her like donation pitch down, so definitely donate, because like I said, we put this money back into getting Democrats elected up and down the ballot. All right, Dave, you up and running?
Finally.
All right, so take it away.
Sorry for my delay. First, congratulations to all the victors in the primary election. We know how hard you worked and what effort it takes. And you deserve congratulations. A special note, we've got to get used to Rebecca Rios is now Judge Rios. And congratulations to her. As a former JP, I especially note she's taking on a major responsibility. And let me say one word about those who have not prevailed in the primary election. Congratulations to you too. You participated, you worked hard, you put yourself out there, and that's to be noted. And you didn't perhaps win this particular election, but there's always another election just around the corner. 2 years from now is not that far away. And we congratulate you for your participation. You're still a valued and an essential element of our democracy. So much has happened since our last meeting. It's hard. I'm not going to go on and on with that, because I know we have so many activities, so many speakers tonight to get to, and I'm going to be really brief. Who knew that on the same day that we were voting, Kansas of all the reddest of red states, voted to keep their abortion rights intact in their Kansas Constitution by a very overwhelming majority. I suspect when eventually 2 years from now, the initiatives and get on the ballot in reference to abortion, I suspect it will be hard, but Arizona also has that libertarian streak. And we really don't want the next governor, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, telling women what to do with their bodies. Ultimately, it will be decided probably by a constitutional amendment via the initiative process. I know there was some effort to get an initiative on the ballot this year. I don't think they're going to make it. In fact, so far, I think they already announced they're not going to make it, which was understandable. By the time the decision came down, it was already too late on the calendar. And who would have thought they would finally raid Donald Trump's home? I mean, at the least we know, and it's hard to know which of the many crimes that they could be raiding him for. I mean, was it, the fact that he's keeping, government records or other items that he has no right to possession, and he has, under the law, no right to the possession of any of these documents, whether it's one box or apparently the 27 boxes that they've recovered so far, or not 27, it was 22 boxes that they recovered so far from the of material wrongfully taken. By the way, all this stuff about FBI planning documents and such is such rubbish. It's hard to even think that's an issue. And now suddenly the Republicans have become critical of the police. My. Now the worm turns. Anyway, I will conclude on that happy note. Patrick, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Let's keep things going here. So next up, we're going to move into our elected officials update. So I know we have a few more elected officials that are with us this evening, but we're going to start with the folks who are on the agenda, then we'll open it up to our other electeds that are in attendance. So I'm going to start off with two of our Phoenix Elementary school board members. We have Jessica Bueno and Reggie Carrillo. I'm going to go ahead and let you kind of argue over who gets to talk first, or you can talk at the same time. And the floor is yours.
I can go first. I'm going to keep I'm sitting outside because it's a beautiful day, but my lighting is bad. I'll just go ahead and I'll introduce myself real quick for those who have not met me or seen me around. I'm one of 5 governing board members for the Phoenix Elementary School District, District number 1. We are the first district in the state. I'm proud to say that. I always say that we're the first public school in the state. I know I see some of the board members tonight. We're an elementary school district that feeds into Phoenix Union, and I'll just be providing updates for what's happening so far in our school district. Really quick, little bit more about me. I am an educator, been teaching K through 8th for 8 years and have just recently moved on, and then founder of AZland, and then just decided to run for school board along with Jessica Bueno to better serve our community and impact our students here in the community where I live here in South Central. So just to go into some school board updates, some school updates, we have hired our new superintendent. Her name is Dr. Ibi Davila Hagigat. We're proud to increase our female representation in our district for the communities that we serve, especially the majority Latinx community, especially someone who has immigrant background, immigrant roots, and has a powerful educational story to bring to our students. So I shared her bio there in the chat if you want to know more about her. And then going on to that was a 6 months process, so we're finally glad to bring her on board with our new school year. So we're excited about that, and she has a lot of momentum. Our meetings for our governing board dates have changed from Thursdays 6:15 p.m. to now being on Tuesdays 5:15 p.m. I'll put that in the chat too, so you have that link, because I know Jessica, Vice President Bueno, is going to be sharing a lot of updates about upcoming election night and a bond override. And our public board meetings are where to go to hear what's happening. In addition, school has started. We continue to urge parent and community members to get their vaccines, to wear their mask in an area, especially where I live, 85004, that has high COVID transmission. In addition, Phoenix Elementary, we continue to push our school to be innovative and have staff that believes in innovative measures to meet the needs of our school community. So with that said, we are starting opening our Phoenix One Family Center in the spring of 2022. That's more so to meet the needs of our community and provide wraparound services. We understand, especially I as an educator of 8 years, knowing that as a teacher, research has shown we only have a 7% impact on the students, on the lives of our students. And so we know that so much more happens out in the community where our students are coming from, and it's our job as a backbone of the community, as a public school district, to provide those public services and go above and beyond to meet the needs of our community. We also are opening our garden at Garfield Garden on the Corner at Garfield School District. It has received Arizona Department of Health Service garden certification, so we can begin to serve food at in the cafeteria, and we want to continue expanding our gardens at our school district. And then on top of that, that's just a big picture push, so you know what's happening in your local public school district. Our push for our district to be more environmentally sustainable, and again, to meet the needs of, we heard earlier about the drought, to meet the needs of the ensuing climate crisis, and prepare our students, prepare our communities to be more resilient, more self-determining communities. And so that's just one initiative that we're pushing for. Other initiatives that we're pushing for at the school district level when it comes to environmental justice is for our bus transportation department, right? Transportation is one of the biggest polluters, has one of the biggest carbon footprints. And I know that other school districts too in South Phoenix, in Phoenix, are focusing on transitioning their bus fleet to more electric vehicles. And so that is something that we're also looking at too, in terms of the federal funding that has been provided as well. So we're continuing with that, our environmental justice initiatives. And I know tying into just what the Congressional App Challenge, pushing our schools to prepare our students for the digital society that they're born into, continuing to prepare and provide them for the tech skills that they need, especially in this up and coming with the up and coming tech industry that's here, that is developing here in Arizona, right? Especially with the chip factory being developed, and so we're pushing for that too, to provide curriculum and content that prepares our students with those digital tech skills, so that they can get onto financially stable jobs in the tech industry here. Other than that, as a board, we are pushing for more affordable housing initiatives as well. Again, pushing our school to be more innovative and pushing for curriculum and content that represents our students, that reflects the lived experience of the various backgrounds that our students come from in the community here in South Phoenix. And we're able to continue to push for that stuff. And then on top of that, especially since they're feeding into Phoenix Union, that's already ahead of the curve when it comes to computer science initiatives and teaching students about coding and having a strong STEM culture. Lastly, I'll end with this, and Board Member Bueno will talk about this more too, but the budget, right? The legislature, and thanks to all of our representatives, our state senators, representatives in the House that are here logged in, a big thank you to for fighting for increased budget. Historic budget for education has been passed, $525 million, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Phoenix Elementary stands to get $2.9 million of that. And so with that, we're continuing to advocate for our staff, bottom up, top down, to increase salary for increased salaries for those who continue to invest their time in their life in our education system, increase their salaries so they're making more than a livable wage, so they're making a wage that they can thrive on. And so we're continuing to advocate for that every step of the way. And within a historic increased budget, a big thank you, because that allows us to continue to fight for that increase the salaries for those that want to work at our district. And then we'll continue in terms of public board meetings. We'll continue advocating for that and just being transparent with the community of what we're doing with that monies, making sure that we are responsible, successful stewards of tax-paying dollars. Thank you for that. That's 200 million more. I'll throw some shade. That's 200 million more than what Republicans advocated for, which is $330 million. So again, we have a long way to go, but I just want to come on here and just shed a silver lining on top of a huge education fight that we've been battling here in our education system. I will stop there and I will pass it on to my fellow board member, Jessica Bueno.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Carrillo, and that was great information. So thank you everybody for inviting us today. Again, my name is Jessica Bueno. I am Vice President of the Phoenix Elementary Governing Board, LD11. We are the most northern part of your district, and we also have 6 out of our 14 schools in LD11. So I'm here to represent our PAC. Yes, for Phoenix, we will be asking for a bond override this year. Let me pull up some information to share with you. So if you do live in some of the northern part of LD11, this question will be on your ballot regarding the bond election, which we encourage you to, yes, please support our bond proposal. And what this bond, which is going to be $92 million, is that we're asking for is to really help us fill in gaps where state funding is insufficient for our capital needs, right? So we'll use these funds to help our school renovations and improvements, school security and enhancements. As we know, school safety is definitely a priority as our federal and state legislators just continue to not control guns. So we need to take matters into our own hands and make sure that we're providing a safe facility for our children. And next we'll be focusing on technology and equipment improvements. As we know, technology ages very fast, and what we really do is try to provide 2-to-1 technology to our students. So that means they'll have access to technology in school, and they'll have technology at home as well. And then lastly is, again, our school buses. So that'll help us transition to the electric buses, as Mr. Carrillo mentioned. And so that's question number 1. We do have another question that is unique in terms of it's not something that you see quite often, but we will be asking for school site sales. So this means that we're putting 5 properties that we are asking our constituents to give us full authority to decide what we do with 5 properties that are not being used as schools currently. They are leased buildings that we have other businesses or organizations leasing, but in order for our district to fill in some of the gaps, like Mr. Carrillo mentioned about affordable housing, what are the things that we can do that we control? And we are cash poor, but property rich. And we need to really start being smart about how the school district wants to maintain ownership of those properties and find the best use of them, whether that be leasing to build affordable housing for our families, for our staff, just different possibilities that we'll be able to have full control over. So that's something that you don't see very much from school districts asking for that right to have the authority. So I just wanted, and I'm thankful for Patrick for inviting us so we can share with you all what are the 2 questions that we're proposing on the ballot in November. So that's all I had, and I'm open to questions if that it's appropriate, but thank you again, Patrick.
Yeah, Jessica, we do have one question kind of going back to the properties. So specifically, what are the properties that you guys are going to sell or trying to decide what to do with?
Sure. So and Ott is one of them over on by 16th Street and Mojave. That is currently being leased out. We also have our New Times, we call it the New Times building. It was known as Booker T. Washington, but New Times has that property lease, and that's on Jefferson and 12th Street. We are going to put up ASU Prep, which is on 7th Street and Fillmore. We have our bus depot on Grant and 1st Street. And then last is Monterey Park School that also has a lease on 3rd Street and Oak.
All right, thank you. Wow, Anna, that takes me back. I many moons ago, I taught a class in that building, but wow, yeah. All right. Okay, do we have any other questions? We'll take one more question here for our Phoenix L board members. All right, moving right along. I'm gonna go ahead and recognize Nikita Ross. She's a governing board member for Phoenix Union High School District. Thank
you, Chair. Thank you to the Phoenix L governing board members. Your passion is so inspiring. So thank you again for that. I'm Nikita Ross. I'm currently elected to the Phoenix Union High School Governing Board. School started on Monday and everything went smoothly. We have not mandated masks, but we will continue to monitor and listen to experts. So if numbers continue to rise in our zip codes and the CDC or public health department says that we should implement masks, then we will then again move back to masks. But at this time, that's not the recommendation of the experts. And so we always listen to the experts in the field when making decisions in regards to the safety of our students and staff and family. We're also offering COVID tests and vaccines for everyone, not just our students and our families. So it's open to the public if you want to get tested or get vaccinated or get boosted. That is something that Phoenix Union is offering. As a board, so thanks mentioning again about the budget that was just passed. As a board, we voted to how to spend that money that was allocated to the district. And what we decided was to, of course, give it all to our employees, all of it that we could give it to the employees. And so what happens now is we will not have an employee making less than $15 an hour in the entire district, which is huge. There were times where some of our employees made $10 an hour. And so we are constantly as a district doing everything that we can. Every time money comes down from the legislature, we are then giving it to staff to try to continue to meet inflation and to try to make sure that not just teachers, but all of our staff, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, our aides have enough money so that they can live. And so we're always trying to figure out how to do that with the money that's allocated from the legislature. And then lastly, we as a district are now focused on safety and what that means to our students, to our families, and to our communities. So we created a Student Safety Committee Board, which consists of not only students, but community members as well. Each board member can appoint a person from the community. So if any of you are interested in being appointed to talk about what safety looks like in Phoenix Union High School District, just reach out to me and then I can talk about what that appointment process looks like. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Nikita. Any questions for Nikita at all? Okay, I see a few other elected officials, so if you guys would like to give us any updates, now is the time.
Hi, everyone. This is Rebecca. I'll go ahead and jump in. I just want to also chime in and say to thank everybody who ran for office. For those of you who've never run for office, it is an incredible sacrifice. It takes a lot of heart and commitment. It's tough. And so I really want to commend everybody that, went out there and they worked hard and they sacrificed, as did your families. We had a huge slate of spectacular candidates, and that speaks well to our district. On a personal note, it's hard to lose. I lost in 2010, and I lost big and I lost hard. I'll mention that because that does not mean that that is the end, because, you know, here I am years later. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But thank you all sincerely for sacrificing and running for office. It means a lot. In terms of a legislative update, not a lot going on in the interim. I did have the great honor of being at the White House. Oh my God, I guess it was just yesterday. I got invited to see the signing of the CHIPS and Science Bill. Democrats are doing some good things. We've got some momentum. Biden's an amazing guy. He stood in the sun at his, I don't even know how old he is, but he's an amazing man. He stood there for an hour and then gave a speech. So I think we all need to be very proud of Biden and what's happening. In terms of a legislative update, my office sent a letter to Governor Ducey on Friday, asking him essentially, where is this special session on the AEL that was part of the budget negotiation? We were told that the governor was committed to calling a special session to address the aggregate expenditure limit. And I know you've all heard us talk about it before, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is until the legislature gives authority, it doesn't matter how much money we appropriate if we don't give the authority for school boards to spend it. And that needs to be done, you know, before the end of the next fiscal year, which is, you know, next June 30th. And it's something we should do now as opposed to waiting. His staff said they would get back to us by Friday. So just to kind of keep you in the loop, that is something that we'll continue to put pressure on the governor's office to do. Lastly, the water legislation that was passed in the final hours of the legislature, the one that appropriated $1 billion to begin to do some water augmentation and conservation. Part of the language of that bill also created a new water authority board. It's called the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority Board. Representative Bolding and I, that were involved in negotiations, fought very hard to be able to have Democrats appoint members to that board. Because typically what happens is the Republicans will want to control all the appointments that are made. So I give a lot of credit to Representative Bolding for really pushing that from the House side. We pushed it from the Senate side. And so subsequently, both Reggie and I will be doing an individual appointment, as will the Speaker and the President. The reason I say that is because the effective date will be September 24th. If you know of anybody, and the statute language essentially says the person has to have been a resident of Arizona for 2.5 years and have knowledge and expertise in either water or finance, including public finance. So if there's anybody that you think might be interested, please reach out to me so that we can make sure that application goes through the portal and is considered. The Senate will make appointments first, meaning the president and then myself, and then it will go on to the Speaker and Leader Bolding. And that's about it. Otherwise, it's quiet. I will be there at the legislature until new folks are sworn in January. So again, if there's anything I can do to help with you, your neighbors, your community, any constituent concerns, I'm there and available. And I know Marcelino is as well. So thank you all. And with that, I'll turn it over. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator Rios. And we got to start practicing your new title. But so congratulations on your win. And yeah, thank you for serving us as our senator. And of course, you know, still got a little bit of time left in that term and some more work to do. So we look forward to supporting you through that. All right. So Representative Quinones, you are up.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Brown. I'll just echo what Ms. Rios said. The House is always open, so if anybody needs anything from the House, please let me know. As always, I'll include my information in the chat and make myself available as much as possible. One quick thing that I do want to add in regards to the budget, there was $50 million that was allocated for school safety, and that school safety can include counselors and or social workers. So I just think since we were talking about the budget and education, that's important for all of us to keep in mind. And then a couple of weeks ago, Ms. Rios and I were part of Legislative Council, which looked at the language for the initiatives that are going to be in our November ballot. The only one that I would really like to highlight today and make us all aware of is Prop 308. Prop 308, would allow any high school student who has lived in Arizona for 2 or more years to enroll in in-state tuition regardless of where they were born. So again, for any student who has attended an Arizona high school for 2 or more years, once they graduate, they would be able to receive in-state tuition, and that is Prop 308. So I want to start to sprinkle that so that as it gets closer, we can tell all of our neighbors. And then I'll go in reverse of what Ms. Rios said. I want to thank everybody for taking part in democracy, either as a voter, as an advocate, as a candidate. Thank you for pushing democracy forward. And I look forward to working with all of you to make sure that we vote and we get in Katie Haas, Adrian Fontes, Chris Mays, Martin Quesada. We retain Mark Kelly and our Congressman Ruben Gallegos. So other than that, if there's anything that I can do, let me know and I'll add my contact information. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Okay, so we're moving right along here. All right, so next up, we've got a lot of, so we've talked some of our electives, we've got some of our candidates here that are joining us. But before we get into that, I'm actually going to start with one of our partners, Rodrigo Palacios. He's with Save Our Schools Arizona. So I'll go ahead and yield the floor to Rodrigo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rodrigo Palacios. I am a resident in our district. I'm also a teacher, a parent of public school kids. I'm the president of Tempe Secondary Education Association, so I'm deeply invested in our public school system. And I also happen to be working with Save Our Schools Arizona. I just wanted to thank you guys for giving me the time to speak with you. We're trying to get the word out about the petition that we're circulating to try and stop universal vouchers. And so I've got a little presentation. I wonder if, Patrick, if you could let me.
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you so much. So I know Patrick mentioned this earlier already, and if you are well versed in what's going on in our state legislature with education budgets, this is no surprise, obviously. But we need 118,000 at least valid signatures, right? So we are, like Patrick mentioned earlier today, earlier in the meeting, we're really shooting for a good cushion there before September 24th. We really want to get them. The deadline's the 23rd to get all the signatures in and get them counted. So if we can start getting those back in before then, that would be incredibly helpful. This is all in relation to House Bill 2853, which passed earlier this year. You can see that there. Our Republican legislators don't seem to want to listen to the will of the Arizona voters. We stopped universal voucher expansion 4 years ago in a 2-to-1 margin, and they continued until this last session to promote it and actually pass it, right, in HB 2853. So, you saw on social media, if you follow these fellows, how proud they were of themselves for not following the will of the Arizona voters. So what we've got to do is we've got to stop them, right, once and for all, and we've got to try and keep billions of dollars in our public schools. And so we need to, like I said, gather over 118,000 signatures. And what this will do is this will trigger a hold on that law until the 2024 election. So these petitions need to be signed and turned in, and these signatures counted by this September 23rd, but they will not trigger this being referred as a proposition until the election in 2024. that gives us a 2-year cushion to stop this law from actually taking effect. So again, we want to really encourage you all to not only sign the petition, but if you are willing to pick up petitions, I've got a bunch of petitions. I will put in the chat in a minute the link for the hubs for the Team SOS Arizona website as well. And I will, in fact, the link is there live in the presentation here. And I will also, you know, I'm one of the hubs here at the South Side. And so I can provide you with petitions if you need them. So please reach out. I will put my phone number in the chat in a second. Another way to reach out and to get a hold of me and also keep in touch with what SOS is doing in South Phoenix in the South Mountain area is if you want to use that QR code. We'll be sending out regular newsletters and information over email to let you know what is going on. So that's all I've got, Patrick. I'll send it back to you, and I will. I'll put my number in the chat as well.
Okay.
Patrick, may I just bring up something pretty quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
We've been discussing actually returning to in-person meetings, and sir, you should be aware our next in-person meeting, if we have one, I think will be September. Is Patrick? Are you still thinking about that?
That is the goal based on several factors. So we're shooting for our September meeting. Yes.
Anyway, please keep track of it, sir, because I invite you to attend that meeting with your petitions. That will be in time and before your deadline.
I appreciate that, Dave. I will plan to be there.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Rodrigo before we continue on?
Patrick, not a question as much as a comment. I don't know if folks that might have been at the 3rd Street and Baseline location on polling day noticed, but there were probably 3 or 4 folks that were clearly paid to stand there with signs opposing and really kind of being very assertive and aggressive in terms of telling people don't sign these petitions. I think that speaks to the concern that the Republicans and the other side has because they know how the public feels, but it also tells us that there's going to be a lot of money funding that effort. So it's really going to take all of us pitching in and doing our part because this is going to literally devastate our public education system as well as our state budget. So thank you, Rodrigo, for all your effort.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that comment, Senator Rios, you're exactly right. I know I went to go do it, like to sign the petition, and I saw some pretty unsavory stuff to dissuade people, and I'm obnoxious, so I just had some fun with it. But the reality, when we really bring it to home, like these vouchers would absolutely wreck the public education in this community because these, just and obviously this is a major issue to me, especially personally, but this is one of these things where it is not designed to help us. It will hurt us, and it will hurt our community, and it will hurt our schools, and it will hurt our kids. And so have those conversations with the people. There's a lot of folks who either just don't follow this stuff, or they don't have kids and all this type of stuff. Talk with them, get them to sign a petition, have them understand that these vouchers are very, very bad. And I could talk another hour on this, which I won't, but yeah, please do that. Okay, getting back to the agenda again. Appreciate your guys' indulgence here. We got some great candidates running for school governing boards, and we need to hear from those people. So we've got 3 great candidates have joined us tonight. We're going to start with Samir Rand. She is running for the Levine Elementary governing board. So we'll go ahead and turn things over to Samir.
Hello, my name is Samir Rand, and I am I've been an employee of the Phoenix Union, the Great Phoenix Union High School District for 25 years. I had been in education for about 27 years. But I'm running for the school board. My focus area is to give an equal opportunity. I want to make sure that our brown and black students have equal learning opportunity. My daughter grew up in Trailside Point. She went to Trailside Point, and my son used to work at Vista. And just hearing their stories and their experiences or whatever, it kind of encouraged me to get out there and want to be a part of this, the Laveen School Board. I'm also wanted to focus on making sure that our special population students in the district are given equal opportunity as well. In addition to that, I like to see how the district is using cultural relevant practices for fairness, and also school safety is one of my things that I like to focus on.
All right, and Samir, do you have a moment to take a few questions from us?
Sure.
Okay, so the first is really easy. How can folks help you and support your campaign to get elected?
Well, so I ran during the pandemic, and I just kind of, got out there and just got the petitions and just start getting signatures and happened to get on the ballot with really no training or whatever. But this time I'm actually receiving some training and guidance, and I have a mentor. And so right now I have about 4 or 5 financial supporters. And so the monies are coming in. And so I'm getting ideas about, I have literature, and we're going to go out probably right after Labor Day to get started. I guess how I can use your support is just, just getting my name out there. I'm willing to come to meetings like this or volunteer and get my name out there to different platforms so that my name will get out there so that I can win this time. So any way I can help, just be a part of this great group and supporting others. And then, in turn, getting some support, I'd be willing to do that.
All right, awesome. Could you drop your information in the chat? That way, if anybody here, wants to, volunteer some time, contribute to your campaign and what, they'll be able to do so.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Samir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Signa Oliver. She is running for Phoenix Union School Governing Board, and that's going to be Ward 2. So, Signa, I'll have you take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you to all of the speakers that have gone before me. It's pretty awesome and interesting. And to the other candidates on the call that are running, let's finish this race strong. But my name is Signa Oliver. I am a product of Phoenix Union High School District. I had a great life experience coming through, Roosevelt School District, from Palmdale, Julian, and into Phoenix. And then I was able to take the educational experience that I had and go on to have, an amazing career. I'll share a little bit about me because I was gone for a while. I was in the military, but I have served in the local government here years ago with Phoenix Police Department, and as both a dispatcher and a officer. And when Phoenix Police Department had the trust of the community. And then I went on and went to school and came out and went into the JAG Corps, where half my career I was a prosecutor. Of course, my dog is going to start barking. He hasn't barked yet. But anyway, half of my career I was a prosecutor, and then the other half I did labor and employment law, a special assistant U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Georgia. So I've had an amazing life, an amazing career. And I want to make sure in running in my candidacy to make sure that, little brown and Black children see somebody like me, see what I've accomplished. I'm not special. I just was afforded every opportunity to succeed, and I want them to do so as well, because I believe that, every student, is capable of learning. Everybody doesn't have to take the path that I took, but they need to be able to chart their own course. And so my running platform is always going to wind up with the students first, and their parents, the educators, and most of all, this community. This is my community. I am vested. My roots are here. I've raised 2 children. I have, 7 grandchildren, and I want to make sure that, the education that I was afforded years ago, a better education is afforded to, children in this high school district, and make sure that they get to be, contributing members of society. I'm very interested in making sure, of course, like everybody else, school safety is a big initiative for me, but also making sure that the resources are allocated appropriately for all of the needs. Make sure that our high schools, the facilities are kept, repaired and modernized, so that our children don't fall back or fall behind, and be able to, experience the things that, they need to experience, so that they can, get that quality education, so that they can go out and be contributing members of society and come back and help this community continue to thrive. And the only way to do that is to invest in these children. I will fight. Right now, I'm going to fight for environmental equity. I am part of an organization called Common Cause. We have veterans training coming up in September that I'm going to attend, so that I can come back to this community and we can start making sure that we're doing things that are that afford us the environmental equity that we need, because we know that in our marginalized communities where we dwell, if we've heard about the water crisis here. If those things impact anybody, they're going to impact us first. So I've got to make sure that I am very well aware of, everything that I can do to make sure that, this community, LD11, Phoenix Union High School District, is being, that environmental equitable partner to make sure that our children and our families have what they need. Because as we know, if we don't have water in this community, if we don't have water in Arizona, we're done. So we've got to make sure that we're doing the right things, and we're behind the 8 ball already. So we have to get focused, because we know it's going to impact our communities first. And so that is going to be my focus. I don't have a hidden agenda. I have nothing but, this is my labor of love for the community that served me so well in my, years of growing up and my educational, experience. So I have nothing else to do but, impact this community by giving back as much as I can and fighting as hard as I can. And like I told one of our US representatives when I was lobbying in Washington, I can be your advocate or I can be your adversary, you choose. I'm always going to be that person. We can work together. I'm all about, coming together and working for the common cause. But at the minute that I believe that this community and the students and the parents and the educators in this community are not being served, then you get to see that other prosecutorial side. And she can be unpleasant, but we want to make sure that we are taking the right initiatives and making the right measures to strengthen and help our community thrive. And I will stop there and take any questions.
All right, any questions for Signa? All right, if you could drop your information in the chat, the way anyone who would like to volunteer, contribute, or help your campaign, they'll have the information to do so.
Yeah, and one last thing, I will be
Sure.
holding candidate forums because I serve South Mountain, the academies in South Mountain and Wilson are in my ward, in Ward 2. So I'm going to try to do candidate forums probably in September, October, just so that I can hear from, the parents, the students, and the community, and get an idea of what they're asking Phoenix Union High School Board to do. So look out for that. Thank
We will
you.
do that. Thank you. All right, and our last candidate for tonight is Ashley Hodge. She is running for Roosevelt School District.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. My name is Dr. Ashley Hodge, and I'm running for Roosevelt School District Board. Born and raised in the community, I've always taken pride in being from South Phoenix. My parents and grandmother graduated from Roosevelt School District, and I graduated from Ed and Vermer Pastor Elementary. My great-great aunt was a teacher at Julian. My parents made the decision to send my sisters to schools outside of the community. We'll just stay on the other side of the mountain, but I remained in the Roosevelt School District. I always felt like my sisters were afforded a different educational experience than me, and I felt like their education was of more quality because their schools had more resources. Sorry. I graduated at the top 10% of my class from a Phoenix Union High School and attended Arizona State University on a full ride scholarship. My professional experience has been predominantly with the geriatric population, and then I worked for a healthcare organization. I transitioned to education 3 years ago because I felt like I had more to give and I was not serving others in the capacity that I was called to serve. I currently work in the Phoenix Union High School District as a social worker. I am running for the Roosevelt School District Board because I had a dream to change the education system on the south side of Phoenix, in the community where I grew up and I still live. I'm currently endorsed by Save Our Schools and Arizona List. When I am elected as a member on the Roosevelt School District Governing Board, I will make sure that I listen to understand. It is important to include all stakeholders in decision-making to ensure that it's collaborative between the board and stakeholders. As a board member, I will make data and research-informed decisions and be visible in the community. I want our children to have equitable access to education and resources. Our children need to feel confident as they transition to 8th grade, from 8th grade to high school, and high school to a trade school or college. Our students were online for 18 months due to the pandemic, which interrupted teaching and learning. It is our responsibility to ensure that we restore the interrupted teaching and learning. One way to address this concern is to make social emotional learning embedded into the curriculum. We also need to increase our enrollment. We need to bring our students back to the community. We also need to address staff retention and mental health. Last but not least, assessing and addressing the safety of our schools. Home is where the heart is. My heart is here because I'm from here and I want more for our students. With that being said, I need your help. You can help me in various ways. You can volunteer, which looks like canvassing, getting out the vote, by donating financially, reposting an event, and/or my page on social media, and/or by phone banking when the time comes. What can I count on you to commit today? Let's take our community back and give our students the best opportunity for success. Thank you very much for allowing me to share my story and my why. Your support means the world to me, and I truly appreciate it. I'm counting on you to vote for me on November 8th.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Kind of same question. If you could drop your, actually, I see you guys got your information there. Are there any questions for Ashley for her campaign for school board? All right, again, thank you. Definitely keep us in the loop. Like I said, at LD27, we are an education advocate when it comes to public education. So we would definitely want to support these great candidates that are running for school board. All right, we're in the home stretch here. Last bit of business we need to talk about is our get out to vote plan for LD11. So we're going to go through this. It's actually pretty straightforward. If you have questions, just drop them in the chat as we go, and I'll be happy to either answer or clarify stuff. Kind of our theme for our get out to vote is we want to definitely make sure that folks are voting the entire ballot. So you probably heard from the county, the bottoms up campaign, from the bottom to, make sure we're hitting all those lower ballot offices, making sure we're hitting all the ballots. That's one of the things that, especially with LD11 with our community, that we've got to be really, really better with, is making sure that we're voting the entire ballot. So our plan kind of addresses a lot of that, and I'll go through that here real quick. If you miss any of this, or like I said, this is going to go into, of course, our newsletter, and we of course share a video of the meeting. So if you miss anything, it'll definitely, we'll definitely hit on it again. So we've broken it down. We have 4 priorities going into this general election. The first one is going to be voter registration. We know that there are, folks who are just turning 18 who are concerned about a lot of these issues that are going on. We want to make sure they're registered to vote. We also want to make sure that they're getting their ballot by mail. So that's one of our big priorities. Second one is going to be voter turnout. In the 2018 election, we had about a voter turnout of about 55%. Midterm elections traditionally have lower turnouts, especially for the party in power with with President Biden. But the thing is, we cannot afford to follow that trend. We need to have strong turnout. So we're looking to meet or exceed 55% of our voter turnout. And just by comparison, and that's a typo, I should say 2018, but our 2018 turnout was about 52%. So, a 3% lift could very well decide many of these races. On the other side of just looking at turnout, we also want to limit voter drop-off. What voter drop-off is this is people who vote, say maybe the first 2 items on the ballot, and then they kind of stop the deeper they get in the ballot. So they'll vote for Senator Kelly, they'll vote for Congressman Gallego, they'll vote for governor. And then when they start getting down to maybe middle of the ballot, lower down the ballot, they stop voting. This actually really hurt us a lot in 2020. We had a record turnout in 2020. We had about 70% of the old LD27 vote. But the problem is we also had very high voter drop off. To put it in perspective, if roughly about 6 to 8% of the people who dropped off the ballot, had they completed their entire ballot, Julie Gunnigal would be the current Maricopa County attorney. Adrian Fontes would be the current Maricopa County recorder. So that just shows you just how impactful voter drop-off is. In this election, we had record turnout just for the primary election, just overall as a state. And so for many of these races, those percentage points are going to matter. So we want to make sure that people understand to vote the entire ballot. And of course, our last priority is we want to inform and engage with our electorate, because that'll address the other things higher up the list. So just got to give you some ideas of the get out to vote activities that we're going to be investing time and resources in. We'll be phone banking, text banking, of course, canvassing. Canvassing is big because all the data pretty much shows that, that direct voter engagement is what really gets people to vote the entire ballot, to vote for candidates, and to be engaged. We're going to also do literature drops, which part of that, of course, will be packing those literatures. We call them packing parties, where we'll get that stuff prepared. Voter registration initiatives. We're looking at having some tabling events at our public libraries and other community events where their people are, so that we can, get them to, either register to vote or get them to understand, what's going to be on the ballot, and make sure that they have a voting plan. And then we're also going to have postcard writing. So all of these things are going to be like options. At LD11, we believe in what's called a no wrong door approach to volunteerism. Some people, they love canvassing, they love knocking on doors, and we want to definitely make sure that, we, prepare you, and we give you the tools to do that. Some of you guys, you love postcard writing. We're gonna have postcards where you can write, the people in your community. You can either mail them or drop them off in person, things like that. Like I said, whatever your flavor is, or whatever you feel is like your skill set, that's, we want you to participate in that. So of course, I want to break down our timeline. November 8th is election day. But remember, we vote by mail, and Democrats typically overwhelmingly vote by mail. So really our deadline is fundamentally when around October 11th. That's when ballots will go out. And from from October 12th forward, that's where a lot of our voters are going to be engaged, where they're going to have their ballot in hand, they're going to fill it out, and they're going to mail it, or they'll drop it off or they'll vote early. So a lot of our work will need to happen really with that deadline in mind. So just kind of give you an outline of what'll be going on from basically now to election day. Phone and text banking is already happening. Maricopa County Party is doing stuff. I know Mission for Era is doing for stuff. We're not going to reinvent the wheel on the text banking because they're focusing on our community and communities like ours. So we'll basically direct those of you who are interested in doing phone or text banking to like a lot of our partners because they say they've already got everything set up. Why reinvent the wheel? Around late August, we're targeting to have like a lot of our printed materials that's coming out of our LD available. This is where we'll start kind of our early canvases. That's where we'll kind of start, distributing information for people to, who want to participate in postcard writing, things of that nature. So late August is about when we'll have that stuff ready. If you're itching the canvas right now, Mission for Arizona is doing canvassing. They're looking for volunteers. We can definitely get you hooked up. I know Save Our Schools is very active in our community as well. They're doing canvassing. And of course, our Democratic candidates who will be doing canvassing as well. And they're looking for volunteers. And of course, we're a big district. They're going to be looking, to canvass a lot and often LD11. So there will be opportunities to do so. Moving into early September, that's kind of where we're going to start kind of ramping down voter registration. We're going to, if anybody's interested to vote or register to vote before that October 11th deadline, we'll definitely help them. But we're going to start kind of, shifting our resources into postcard writing. We'll be targeting kind of those persuadable Democrats, those persuadable independents, that kind of, touch point to get them engaged in the process. By late September, that's where we're going to start doing like our major postcard drops, focusing on canvassing. We'll continue, of course, the voter registration, lit drops, but we really want to start interacting with voters really heavily starting late September. Now, when we get to early October before ballots drop, that's when we're really going to ramp everything up because for a lot of our voters, their decisions are going to probably be made before, when those early ballots go out. However, we're going to still kind of continue to communicate because we're going to have new voters. We're going to have people who are maybe undecided. We'll have those independents that are Democratic leaning that we definitely want to make sure are voting the entire ballot and voting for our candidates. And then election day, and this is something we're still working on, and we're going to be coordinating with the county party on this as well, is areas that have electioneering that you can do that. We're looking at setting up where we can hand out slate cards and things like that to make sure that the people who are voting on election day are know to vote for our candidates and also are voting the entire ballot. So here's the ask. Here is what we're asking each and every one of you guys on this call, every PC, every volunteer, folks that, want to make sure that we are turning our state blue, statewide, and we are, putting in good folks in the office. Our first ask is that we're asking for a commitment of 2 hours, a minimum of 2 hours a week in this process. Whichever pathway you choose, we're asking for 2 hours, a week to kind of help with this. Our second ask, we call it the 5. There are 5 people in your precinct that we want you to talk to, make sure that they are committed to voting in this November election, and they're going to vote for Democrats, and they're going to vote the entire ballot. Have those conversations. These are the people that live next to you. The folks that are, you see checking the mail, they're cutting their hedges if they have hedges, or sweeping their gravel like I do. Have those conversations. The next ask, there's 2 people who right now are talking about, oh, what can we do? What can we do? Or they doom scroll on social media. You know what? Let's take that energy and have them help volunteer. We definitely can use their help. So if you can get 2 people to help volunteer and participate in these, this get out the vote, bring them our way. And of course, the last ask is really easy. We need you to stay informed. We need you to stay engaged, and we need you to have conversations and spread the word. When we say stay informed, the emails we're sending out, social media, just knowing what's going on, of course, engaging with that information and talking with other people so they know what's at stake in this election. There's a lot of folks who are going to vote our way, but they just need to have, a good conversation with people they know, and that's each and every one of you guys. We have a volunteer sign up. Many of you guys have already signed up on our volunteer list. If you haven't, we'll drop that in the chat. please sign up, because what we're doing is that's how we're kind of knowing who to contact about what, because that sign up list kind of breaks down the list of things that we're offering and time commitments and things like that. So we're going to use that to be very, very strategic and very, very, kind of, smart about how we utilize our resources to be as effective as possible. So like I said, I know we're running kind of close on time. So if you guys have any questions, like I'm gonna check the chat real quick here and I'll answer some of those. Otherwise, please reach out to me. I think everybody and their cousin has my number at this point, or somebody who knows somebody has my number. Reach out, text me, call me. I'll be happy to answer any questions, or you can reach out to members of our board because they can answer those things as well. So let me go ahead and see what we got for questions, if there are any questions. Okay, no questions. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and move into our announcements. So with announcements, we just want to ask that you keep announcements to like 1 minute. And because we're a little over time and we appreciate your patience, that you keep that to 1 minute. I know Shams has an announcement, so I'll go ahead and recognize her first.
Hello, everyone. One more time, this time as your former candidate, Shams Abdussamad. I want to thank everyone who ran for office. I want to thank I want to congratulate my fellow candidates who are also here in line. So thank you all for running. And also, I would like to thank everyone who supported me, whether with advice, with wisdom, or thank you for your vote. Thank you for your contributions, $5 contributions. And thank you for the signatures as well. Just now we need to focus on midterm in November. And let's all work together to save our democracy. And our chair has actually laid out the plan about how to help out, how to be involved, as well as other wonderful fellow candidates that we have it here. So please help out and let's do all blue in 2022. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Any other announcements? Okay, announcements going once, going twice. All right. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. Again, I'm going to make that ask again. Please sign up for volunteer opportunities. It's going to take everybody to make this happen. Remember, democracy is not a spectator sport, especially in election season. So like I said, we can get this done. This is an amazing community. It is a strong community. It is a community that wants the best, not only for just our community, but for communities like ours and the rest of the state. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you guys to make that happen. Our goal is that we'll be in person in September. So look out for that announcement. Hopefully, like I said, we can make that happen. But with that said, have a good night and take care.